Bench Grand Mullah has been sitting rather patiently as we continue with our conversation. By the way, someone just, I'm sure someone tweeted and told you about your shoes. What did they say? Because Addo Mohammed has just said, Grand Mullah, it's not dispute, it's dispute.
That may be so. I don't take great pride in my pronunciation, so there are other things to be proud of.
But you also don't let it get to you, right?
No,
it doesn't bother you.
I come from Mandera, you know.
What part?
Just Mandera town.
Wow. You've come a long way.
Like many Kenyans.
Indeed, indeed. Look, Grand Mullah, let's come back to you winning the case for Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua. You won the case for Embu Governor Wambora, and you praised the Supreme Court then.
Actually, I mean, Machakos we lost. I was acting for Mvinya Ndete.
But you praised the Supreme Court then.
First, let me tell you one thing. You know, on 1st September 2017, when they nullified the presidential election, I stood up in court and told the court that they were playing politics.
I remember.
Yes. And I said, and I challenged them when they were writing the judgment to justify to Kenyans how the 1.4 million difference between President Uhuru and Raila will disappear. And they brought a theory and said that, you know, it's not the numbers that count alone. There is something called a process. When we now went, the Machakos case of Wavinya and the governor was a replica of Kibaki versus Raila, of Uhuru versus Raila. And I told them, you have decided in Raila's case that numbers alone don't count. It's the process. And just like Raila's case, the Machakos result was declared without 30% of the polling stations' result being known. Then they said, no, the difference is too much. There's a difference of 40,000. Numbers count. So this is a court without any principle. This is a court without any, you know, sound jurisprudence. This is an ad hoc court. It decides cases on an ad hoc. And let me tell you about Wajir. Wajir is facing a constitutional crisis as I sit here because there are two judgments of the High Court and the Court of Appeal that have not been set aside as of now that say that the Wajir governor is in office illegally.
Because he doesn't have a degree?
No, because of other irregularities. That the election was not conducted according to the Constitution. Those irregularities, those elections that nullified the Wajir elections have not been set aside by the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court just made one ruling that, you know, the issue of a degree was not an issue. It should not have been addressed. It is a pre-election issue. But there are 8 other grounds where the High Court nullified the result. So what do? We have a governor imposed on the people of Wajir by the Supreme Court. And that's why we are saying that there's a lot to be left in terms of what that judgment decided. I mean, the governor of Wajir is in office unconstitutionally now as we talk.
You know, there are a lot of people who say that the Grand Mullah is very, very harsh on the Supreme Court. Why? This is the ultimate court. This is the ultimate court of the land.
You know, most Kenyans don't know how we established the Supreme Court and the history of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was established for 2 reasons. The Court of Appeal then, which was the Apex Court, was too corrupt and it disregarded the law. It was ad hoc. It will bend with every breeze. So when we were making the Constitution, we said, let's have a Supreme Court. Let us give the best judges or the best Kenyans to man that court. And let us now have a new beginning. I was a member of the JAC that created the first Supreme Court. And one of the principles we looked in was we said, let's look for Kenyans, you know, who are, you know, smart jurisprudence, guys who have published, guys who are scholars. And the first Supreme Court, you know, out of the 7, almost 4 of them had a doctorate, PhD in law. Yes. We had Willie Mutunga, we had Smokin Wanjala, we had Professor Ojwang, and then Nancy Perez also was just getting her PhD. So we were in that, you know, utopian world that, you know, if we get jurists, people who have published books, articles, who have taught in universities, we will have a new beginning. And I think to their credit, I think the first 4 or 5 years was okay. But you know, Kenyans are Kenyans, yes.
When you have a deputy CJ who is being investigated, and then they bring in a Queen's Counsel, what are your thoughts about that?
Those are small things. What's wrong with getting a Queen's Counsel? It's just like any other lawyer. I mean, this court faces bigger problems than the DCJ getting a Queen's Counsel.
But you raised a stink when they were going to bring in this fella in the beginning.
No, I had no problem from the beginning. I mean, a Queen's Counsel it's just a Queen's Counsel. It's just a lawyer of some repute in England. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Should the deputy CJ still be in office while she still has a case?
Yes, why not? Where do you want her to go? Where will she? Machakos? Where will she go? I mean, the law in this country is there's a presumption of innocence. I mean, only the JEC can remove her, and then, you know, recommend to the president. Once the president starts a tribunal, she will be suspended. But, you know, we have to understand the DCJ has not even taken a plea. She has not been taken to court for a criminal case. There was an attempt to take her to court, which was foiled. So I think she's rightly in her office for the time being, yes.
Okay, but you have raised very serious allegations on bribery against judges, right? You've raised very serious, and there's a tweet here, Monica, if we could see that. Can I walk over to it if you don't mind? It says, the problem with corruption in the Kenyan Supreme Court, as aptly shown by the judgment of Wajir gubernatorial petition, is that corruption is single-sourced and is not open and competitive. My client was not invited to put his bid, and some judges took money from only one party. What do you mean single-sourced?
No. I mean, I was just describing the nature of corruption in this country. You know, you guys don't understand the pain we go through as lawyers. I mean, you do a case, you do a fantastic job, you do research, you argue like anybody will argue in a court in New York or London. Then, you know, some judge takes money. You come, and then your whole world turns down. I mean, people don't understand the pain we go through. I mean, lawyers sometimes need, you know, a lot of psychological, you know, treatment on this. I mean, it shocks you. It makes you lose faith in the system. It makes you lose faith in humanity even. I mean, it's traumatizing when this kind of things happens. And, you know, people just think, you know, it's like taking, it's not, I mean, it's bigger than that. It's more traumatizing. I mean, it is. And, you know, we have done everything. I mean, I was chairman of the Law Society when we did the radical surgery, which we fired 50% of the judges of the High Court and the Court of Appeal. Then after that, we did the vetting. We said all judges should be vetted afresh. But it's a Kenyan problem, no matter what. When I was recruiting judges of the Supreme Court, we thought we got the best Kenyans to do this job. But look at this. Every time there's a mess, you hear that the judge of the last time, you remember, during, you know, when Kidero was governor, there was this $2 million that was being exchanged in a petrol station.
That's right.
I mean, it's a Kenyan problem.
Tell me something, Grand Mullah. Have you ever been tempted to bribe a judge? Because, you know, this is the norm, obviously, according to you. Have you been tempted to do that so that to rule in your favor?
Yeah, but, you know, you should look at my history, you know. I have fought this all my life as a lawyer. All my life. I mean, I will commit suicide, you know, if I take a bribe or I give a bribe. I mean, how can I have 2 lives? Yes. I've spent all my life ensuring that Kenya has a clean judiciary. Yes. I was the first person to call for the disbandment of the entire High Court and the Court of Appeal. Many, many years ago, during Kanu's time, when everybody thought, you know, I was crazy. But the unfortunate thing is, we have made no progress 20 years down the road. We're in the same, you know...
rut.
Absolutely.
Tell me something, Graham. If the corruption is so rampant, why, as you say, why hasn't the CJ, the Chief Justice, done anything about it? Why doesn't he put his foot down?
It's not actually the Chief Justice.
Because you tweeted about this too, remember?
It's not actually the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice has no power on his own. The body that has slept on the job is the Judicial Service Commission.
Of which you were once a member.
When I was a member, it was very vibrant, it was lively, there was a lot of action.
And what is it now? Is it moribund?
Since I left, it is dead. But you see, it is the Judicial Service Commission that has a monopoly on how the judiciary is run. I mean, the last 5 years, the Judicial Service Commission has not disciplined a single judge. They are the ones who are supposed to discipline judges. They are the ones who are supposed to, appoint, recommend tribunals, do investigation. So the body that's in charge with, looking after the judiciary has slept on the job. Yes.
So you're disappointed overall? No,
disappointment is understatement. I mean, it's bigger than that. I mean, this is one arm of the government where taking bribe is the norm. It's like, I mean, we are constant vigilance. Yes. And it's sad because a corrupt judiciary undermines everything. The rule of law, it hampers investment in this country. I mean, people can kill you tomorrow and nothing happens to them. Yeah. The criminal justice breaks down. The commercial system breaks down. The rule of law breaks down. And that is why, this is something Kenya needs to have a debate on how bad our judiciary is. But let me give credit. There's many good judges.
Do we need foreign judges at this point? Remember, we used to have some at some point, right? Donated to us by the Commonwealth.
That's something Kenyans need to debate. I favor that. I used to favor so many times. I've never changed my mind that we need probably. There's so many. There are goods we don't produce. We import. Don't we import? That's why we have a deficit. When you look at the difference between our export and import, that's why we have this current account deficit or something like that. We don't have enough judges to run this country. Although we have 15,000 lawyers. I mean, when I was in the JAC, I've participated in the appointment of people whom I thought were of high integrity. Of course, there are many people who have not disappointed us. But there are people whom I thought, we were in college together, we have practiced law. And the day you appoint them, the next day you hear that, then I say, no, it's not possible. I know so and so, it's not possible. Until the evidence becomes overwhelming.
Maybe they all want to be like you when they grow up. They all want to be wealthy and powerful overnight.
No, but there is nothing, not overnight. I did not grow up overnight. But you see, if you want to make a lot of money, if you want to try, there's no guarantee. But you can try in private practice. There are many wealthy lawyers. There are many lawyers who have done fantastic job because they are good lawyers or they were lawyers at the right time. But you can't make a lot of wealth when you are on the bench. When you're on the bench, your salary is, maybe about 600 to 1.2 million, some small benefits and there. But you become a judge so that, you become a judge so that you do justice to Kenyans, so that you build a name, so that you have a reputation. And that's what judges all over the world do. Nobody goes to the bench to become rich, except in the third world country like Kenya.
Listen, let's switch gears to LSK.
Yes.
There's a big brouhaha about a male nominee to the JSC. What's the big deal? Yeah, why is it such an important position?
No, Professor Ogenda took this position after I lost to him. But I think there's two issues you need to distinguish. I mean, I don't think it's right for people to stop Professor Ogenda from running because he has tax issue. And I think it is appropriate for him to sort out those tax issues. But I don't think it's a bar that because he has tax issues with KRA, he cannot run to represent the law society in JSC. These are two issues that should... I mean, having a tax issue, having a tax dispute with KRA, everybody has a tax dispute. I may have a tax dispute. A doctor may have a tax dispute. But the right to represent lawyers in the JSC is a very fundamental right. And I don't think those two issues should be mixed. Let Ogenda, in my view, let Ogenda run for JSC. Let him sit down with KRA and sort out his tax issues.
What's the big deal about this position, Graham Muller? Explain to us. What's the big deal?
It's a prestigious position. You represent your colleagues in the JSC.
Is it influential?
Of course, it's influential because you determine who becomes Chief Justice, you determine who goes to the Supreme Court. It's very influential. It's very prestigious.
But what about the conflict of interest?
The conflict of interest may be there or it may not be there. We have looked into that when I was a member of the JSC, and we have reached the conclusion that if there's a conflict of interest with a lawyer, why isn't there a conflict of interest with the Chief Justice? Because the Chief Justice is a member of the JSC, there's a judge of the Supreme Court, there's a judge of the Court of Appeal. I mean, in my experience, actually, judges are very alert when a member of the JSC comes and represents a case.
Yeah, because, you know, you're a member of the JSC and then you represent a client. You know, there's a conflict there somewhere. It just doesn't, there's intimidation as well.
No, judges, I mean, Kenyan judges are hardcore. You can't intimidate them. Hardcore.
Even you?
Absolutely.
Because there is talk, they fear you, man. When they hear Ahmednassir is coming, they fear you.
They don't. I mean, some of them are my teachers, some are my colleagues we were classmates, roommates. They don't fear. I mean, why should someone fear a lawyer? A lawyer just makes the best of his case and the judge decides it. Yes.
But do you think if you're a member of the JSC and you're a lawyer and you should not represent a client until your term ends? Do you agree with that proposal?
No, I don't.
Why not?
No, what you can do is you can moderate the kind of cases you appear. There are certain cases that may not be appropriate. But in my view, as a general rule, there is nothing wrong with a member of the Law Society who represents us in the JSC appearing before the court. The court should determine the case on the facts and the law. And it should have no regard on the status of the person or the lawyer who appears before the court. That's a basic principle of the law. Mm-hmm. Yes.
The state of LSK for you, the Law Society of Kenya, has it lost its shine?
Not really. I mean, the Law Society sometimes, everything depends on the chair and the council. Sometimes, you know, I mean, the chair may have some progressive agenda. Sometimes he may have, you know, more pragmatic agenda. Sometimes he may have a council that, you know, they're in sync or think together. Sometimes you may have some council that, you know, drives in a different direction. But the Law Society still is a very powerful organization in this country.
Yeah,
it's a very historic.
Yeah. What do you think of the current council in there now?
I mean, the unnecessary wars. I mean, the job of a council is to support the chairman and his agenda. That's why they are in office. When you have your own agenda as a council, I mean, you should leave that place, because the tradition of the Law Society, the law of the Law Society is that the council should support the agenda of the chair so that they can move together. And it's always a progressive agenda. Yeah. Yes.
But sometimes, when we look at it, the council seems very fractured.
That is true. I mean, not really fractured. I think just one or two council members who may have their own agenda or who may have a different view on certain matters. But normally, you know, if it's a very civil kind of council, I mean, there's always a way on how to agree on those matters.
But as senior counsel, you know, what can someone like you do to salvage that situation? Because obviously
we are trying as senior counsel to moderate the situation, but I think it's a passing cloud. The Law Society will survive this.
Referendum. Your thoughts? It's coming. It's almost inevitable. Your thoughts?
Well, it depends on what's in the referendum. I mean, there are people who think, you know, we may have a parliamentary system. Some people may think we'll have a prime minister. In my view, we will not have a parliamentary system because Central Kenya will not accept it. I mean, Central Kenya has 30% of Kenya's votes. And when you go for a parliamentary system, it neutralizes that. I mean, somebody from Central Kenya in a normal election has a 30% chance even before he creates a coalition because of the 5.5 million population that comes from Central and certain parts of East. Mm-hmm. When you go for a parliamentary system, the game changes, you know, the numerical advantage you had completely disappears because now you go for parliamentary seats. And if you look at the parliamentary seats in Kenya, Central Kenya is the most overrepresented region in Kenya. And Western Kenya is the most underrepresented in parliament. Because when you look at the number of population, certain geographical regions, Western Kenya is underrepresented, Central Kenya is overrepresented. And that's why, the seats that were protected are most in Central. Or they will disappear in the next election because of certain factors. So, it will be foolish for people from Central Kenya, and I don't think they are, to accept a parliamentary system which neutralizes their tyranny of numbers, what has been called. It won't fly.
So the contest, yes, presidential versus parliamentary.
Yes. If you go parliamentary system, if you go presidential system, you can have a president from Central Kenya all our life. Yes, because it's easy. They put 40% population, they put 40% votes in a basket, and they can look for 10% from the rest of Kenyans. So you can have a president from Central all our life.
But
if we go parliamentary, you will not have a prime minister from Central Kenya.
Okay, but right now the front runner is not from Central Kenya.
Who?
Deputy President William Ruto.
Yes, but he has. It's presumed he has the backing from Central Kenya, and that's why the whole, political temperature in this country is whether that presumption is right or wrong.
Does he have the backing?
I think we haven't had a public declaration that he doesn't have. So there's an assumption that he has the backing from Central Kenya.
And it's because he has that backing that he's the front runner.
Yes.
Can he win without Central?
It depends. It's a question of mathematics, percentages. If he gets the whole country together, he can. But when you have Central, it makes the process easier.
So you're saying he can win without Central?
It's difficult, but he can, yes.
What makes you think he'll get all of Rift?
No, that he will get. Don't worry about it.
There's no competition?
There's no competition. From who?
The senator from that place.
Oh.
Wow.
It's not even token competition.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's the reality. The senator polls, it's not even a paper tiger, is he really?
You're saying Senator Gideon Moi has no chance against William Ruto?
No. It's not something worthy of your program to discuss, is it? In my view, is it really?
We're going to take a break, come back. And since you are the deputy president's lawyer, he admitted on BBC the other day that he owns Western.
No, I'm not the deputy president's lawyer. It's a good title to have, that I'm the deputy president's lawyer, but he may dispute it. He may say that Ahmed is not my lawyer. So it's not a fact that I am his lawyer.
Okay, but you are one of his lawyers.
No. I represent a company that owns Western Hotel, yes. That's the only case I'm doing.
Which he admits he owns. So you represented him, by extension.
Actually, he's not a shareholder. I don't think he's a shareholder.
Oh, he just said on BBC he owns it.
Maybe the family owns it.
Spoken like a true lawyer.
I haven't done the last search on the company register, but I think there's a good chance that the deputy president's name doesn't appear as a
Okay,
director.
there's a good chance he may have to pay back. You know that.
No, if I was to advise him, I will tell him not to pay because there's no basis in law.
What do you mean?
The law is the law,
And the law is an ass.
Maybe so, but you see, the law is that he wasn't the land wasn't allocated to him.
Yeah, but
so
he acquired it illegally.
He acquired. It is called innocent purchaser for value. That's the legal.
No, that's being caught with stolen goods.
That's what the law calls it. Innocent purchaser for value.
I want to talk about that after the break. We have to. Let's take a break, come back. Grand Mullah. He is talking it up today. Keep tweeting. We'll read your tweets as well when we come back. At Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back with the senior counsel in a moment.